In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how you can create a music player in Python. And let's get started immediately with the demo. So if you click on load, it's going to open up your window searcher or file explorer, and you can pick on any MP3 soundtrack you want. I'm going to click on this one over here just for demonstration purposes. And let's go ahead and click on play.
Sono venuto a vedere giovane Attila, che si prepara a Piazza Roma.
And you can click pause at any moment you like, and you can even resume it. And in case you want to hear it from the beginning again, of course, you can just go click on restart at any point of the program. So if we just click on resume, you can click on restart as many times as you like, and it will start it from the beginning. And then of course, if you want to stop it completely, just click on the stop button and the soundtrack will stop. Then you can also go ahead and load a different soundtrack if you prefer. You can just click on that and click on play. And pause the soundtrack once again. So as you may have noticed, it's a very simple music player, but it's still a fun project to do in Python, and you can definitely upgrade this to whatever you please it to be. But let's get started immediately by creating a new Python project. So I'm going to be using PyCharm with Python 3.8 for this, and I named my main file tutorial.py. The original one is named main.py, but of course you can name it whatever you like. It doesn't change anything. And the first thing we want to do is open up the terminal, and we're going to import Pygame because we're going to be using their mixer. And I already have it installed, so it's going to tell me that everything's all right. Next, we want to go ahead and handle the imports. So from Tkinter, we're going to import everything. And then we are going to import Tkinter as TK. And then from Tkinter, we also need to import the file dialog. And finally, from Pygame, we're going to import the mixer. Now, to make everything look a lot nicer, we are going to create a class called music player, which I just named MP. And it's going to have an init block, def init. There we go. And we need to supply a window parameter. And the first thing we want to do is create the Tkinter window. So inside here, we're going to type in win geometry, and that's going to equal 200 pixels by 200. And this should be inside the init block. Then we have to give this window a title, which is going to be a music player title. Of course, you can change that to whatever title you like. And we do not want the window to be resizable, so we'll type in window resizable and set that 0 to 0. Next, we want to add the functionality that allows us to change the text of the button as we click on it. So we need to create some string vars. And to do this, we'll just type in self.play restart, and that's going to equal tk.stringvar. And we're going to duplicate that because we also want to create it for a button called pause and resume. Then we need to set the initial states of each one of these string vars. So self.play restart is going to be set to play initially. And then we will duplicate that and change this to pause resume and set the text to pause initially. Now we also have to create the buttons and put them in the correct positions. But right before that, we're going to go ahead and create a few functions. The first one's going to be called load. And we're just going to set pass for that. Then we want to go ahead and type in def play, def pause, pass, def stop, and pass. So we have the placeholders for all the functionality we need for this program. Now we can go ahead and get started with our load button, which is going to equal a button, and it's going to take our window. Plus we need to insert some text, which is going to say load for this button. The width is going to be set to 10. The font is going to equal Arial, and we want it to have a font size of 20. Then we want to provide a command, which is going to be our self.load. And I forgot a comma here. And each one of these should have self inside. and I realized this program is still giving me the error, and that's because I put all of these functions inside the init block and they're not supposed to be there. So just highlight that and do Shift plus Tab to take them out of the block, and everything will be good again. Then we want to go ahead and place this load button .place at x equals 100 and y equals 40. I picked x is 100 because that is the center of the screen, since we decided to do 200 by 200, and y 40 will just give us some room. And we also want to set an anchor for our button, so it's going to be set to center. And right now, let's go to the bottom of our function, create a root, which is called tk. We're going to call our class and insert the root. Then we will type in root.main loop. And I'm doing all of this just so we can go ahead and test the program to see where we are so far. And as you can see, so far we have a load button that does absolutely nothing. So we are on the right track. Now we can go ahead and close this and continue with the functionality. Creating the other buttons is going to be more or less the same. So we're going to type in that, and we're going to change this to the play button. Copy this and paste it down here. And we need to make sure this time to change the text to a text variable. And it's going to take self.playRestart. Then we also have to change this command to self.play, and make sure you do not have the parentheses after the function because it does not require that as a command. And then we need to change this to 80. Right under that, we're going to go ahead and change this to a pause button. And inside here, we're going to have another text variable. So we can actually just copy the one from above and paste it inside here. But of course, we need to change this to the pause resume variable, and make sure to change the command to pause, of course. Then we want to update the y to 120 and change this part here to pause button as well. And finally, we want to create the stop button. So we'll go ahead and type in stop button, and here we will type in stop, change the command to stop, and we want this to be 160. Below that, we're going to go ahead and create two variables. One is going to be the music file, and that's going to be set initially to false. And we also want to create a playing state to see if it's playing or not. And initially that will also be set to false. Now if we go ahead and rerun this program, you should notice that we will have the same music player from earlier. But of course nothing happens yet because we've not added the functionality yet. So let's go back to our editor, and the first one we're going to take care of is the load functionality. So inside here we'll type in self.musicFile is going to equal a file dialog.askOpenFileName. Then we are also going to print the loaded value, so we're going to type in loaded and self.musicFile. Then we also want to go ahead and change the self.playRestart text to play, because every time they load a soundtrack, we want to make sure that the play button says play instead of restart, and that takes care of the load button. Next we have the play button. Inside here we're going to go ahead and check if self.musicFile is not false. We can go ahead and type in mixer.initialize. Then we have to go ahead and type in mixer.music.load. And inside here we need to just refer to our self.music file. And that's going to be the file that we load right here. Then we can go ahead and call mixer.music.play to play the soundtrack. And also while we're inside here, we need to make sure to change the self.playing state to false, change the self.play restart text to restart, and finally change the pause resume text to pause. And then we can move on to the pause functionality. So inside here, we need to go ahead and check if not self.playing state. So if the playing state is false, then we can go ahead and pause the soundtrack. So mixer.music.pause. Self.playing state is going to be set to true. And self.pause resume is going to be set to resume, so that the user can continue playing the soundtrack if they want to. Else we're going to unpause the music because the music is paused, and we're going to copy these two and place them right under, set this one to false, and set this one to pause. And finally, we are going to add the functionality to stop, and all we have to do inside here is type mixer.music.stop. And that's actually all the logic we had to write to make this program work. I also want to mention that this project is available in my GitHub repository. I have a link in the description down below in case you get stuck at any point. You can just go to that to see what you missed. But otherwise, let's go ahead and rerun this program. So now we have the music player, and if we click on load, it's going to open up the music player. We can click on this one over here this time. Then we can go ahead and click on play. And let's click on pause. Let's click on stop. Now this is not going to do anything, but let's click on restart. And let's go ahead and try to reload a different soundtrack, such as this one.
Sono venuto a vedere giovane Attila, che si prepara a piazzare Roma.
So as you can see, we have a fully functional music player. It's very minimal, but it works perfectly. And with that being said, of course, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave it in the comment section down below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.